Hello, everybody, and welcome to TFT. Today, we are talking about a tale of death. Oh my, the coronavirus on Tinfoil Talk. And of course, I am joined by my most awesome co-host, who is a bit sad today. So give him a little bit of love. How you doing, Booster?
I'm sad, Chester.
I know, I know.
You
And
go on about how I'm a great co-host, but then you want Macho Dan to be your co-host instead of your co-co-host.
oh, that's true.
I see
That's
how it
true.
is.
That's true. Yeah. Oh,
I'm
Macho
gonna
Dan, he's
replace.
just prettier. I'm sorry. It's
Well,
it,
that's
he's
not
got the
difficult.
sexy lips, you know.
Mm-mm.
But no, that'll be fun. Actually, we're doing drop kicks and dragons next week, which is going to be fun. Of
Mhm.
course, we'll have Macho Dan with us. It sounds like, which is going to be a lot of fun, right?
That
Yeah,
should be great fun. I
it
just
should be.
remember to show the art while we're doing the D&D. Huh?
Yeah. Well, am I doing D&D?
I know. I thought we were doing a D&D thing. That's why it's Dropkicks and Dragons.
Maybe. I don't know. No one tells me anything. That's kind of like being a father,
Well,
you
well,
know.
you know now. You better come up with a wrestling
Oh,
style D&D campaign.
it's okay. I got it, dude. Don't you worry about it. I'm on that. That's easy.
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
It's the other things that are hard. But anyway, very happy to have you with us today, Booster. And of course, guys, we're also joined by, well, let me get it right because today's special. Today is a very special one. From on high of the mountain, covered in the glistening ice in the twilight of the eve, we see standing, sick as a dog, infected with the coronavirus, but lightning snorting from his nose. It is Thundero.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, I'm coroned. I'm going down, boys.
Going
Going
down,
down.
He knew
going
too
down.
much, so the government had to corona him.
He's
That's
straight.
right.
It's true.
Yeah,
That's a meme waiting to
that's what
happen,
they
dude.
that's what
Uh,
they
but
do
uh,
to us on TFT. They have to get rid of us because we know too much over here.
we do. But yeah, Thunder has been a little bit under weather. I'm happy you came in to join us, though.
hmm Of course, it was my idea.
It was. It's a good idea, though. I think, we this is you might think is a strange topic for
I thought it was
TFT.
my idea. You
Uh,
son
uh,
of a
No,
bitch.
Booster, you don't have ideas. You just sit there and be pretty.
that's true.
Yeah.
But you might not think the coronavirus is actually a TFT, but boy, is it. I'm going to show
Oh
you
boy.
how much of a TFT it is. All right. And
Mhm.
of course, it's a scary thing. Pandemics or potential pandemics are, of course, terrifying. But we're going to go through it today, and we're going to try to get an understanding of it a little bit better. And I might be in a slightly better position because where I live, as far as information and stuff. Because one of the things I'll start out with right from the beginning here, many countries were slow to act on this. They were slow. Because keep in mind, this thing started somewhere in November, right? Now, I don't know if you know that, but it started in November, right? And it took America until middle January to really get on the ball with it, right? But of course, America is reacting very properly, as most Western countries are. And China, of course, was blocking and barring, and a lot of news organizations, because they get paid with that free Chinese money, were going along and supporting that, including the WHO. But I will save that because I got a frickin' hole to open for those bastards. But here in Japan, however, the Japanese reacted immediately, and they've been on top of this. So much so that keep in mind that the Chinese government, ever since the Red Revolution, or even maybe since the war, have been teaching their people to hate Japan. Japan is guilty for everything. Now, I get you. You got to say, well, Japan did some pretty horrible things during the war, and you're right, they did. But they go so far these days as when they have smog in their cities, they blame it on the Japanese. The Japanese smog is coming over on the winds. These horrible Japanese, they get on like, right? Of course, that's kind of a Japanese accent I just did, but hey, Asian, general, you guys get it. But of course, we know
Mhm.
that's not true. I can look out my own window. There is no smog in Japan. They're actually probably one of the greener places you'd find. But China blames everything on Japan. But the Chinese people themselves, who have been under propaganda for generations, have been praising the Japanese for their response to the situation. That is very telling. It's very telling that that is a fact because a Chinese person is much more likely to take the side of blaming Japan for something rather than saying something nice about them. So this tells you a little bit about what's going on. But we'll get into all that, of course. But before I do jump over and do my primer and all that kind of stuff, I want to come over here and say hello to the chat. And while I'm coming over here to look at that, let's see if Thundera or anybody has anything to say while I'm looking.
Oh, what do I have to say? It is interesting watching the Chinese owned or largely owned corporate media all around the world immediately try and downplay the Canada connection, even though it wasn't a Canadian dude arrested or a Canadian spy or
I got
something
a
trying to.
picture of him actually. I'm going to show it
Uh-oh.
later. Yeah.
Oh no.
Hmm.
What?
We're gonna get in trouble.
Speaking of me having coronavirus, what did they ever find out at your hospital?
He just had the regular flu. He died.
Oh, okay. He just died of the regular old flu. That's not good at all.
No, and it's interesting to me that the flu has become so virulent in America. Uh, we don't have hardly any deaths here in Japan from the flu, and yeah, I mean, in America, it might have a little bit to do with the fact that if you don't have good insurance, a lot of people just won't go to the doctor. I mean, there could be some of that, but it is shocking numbers we've been getting because
Well, the
the
numbers
Western media try to say, look, this coronavirus is no big deal. Look how many people die in America from the flu. It's nothing.
No, they
Really?
don't. That's a lie. That's a complete BS lie. If you actually look up death certificates,
Uh-huh.
when the coroners actually investigate the bodies and see what these people died from, or the people in the morgue, it's almost never actually the flu. They may have had the flu virus in their system. They get pneumonia while in the hospital and they die. That happens all the time. People die
Yeah.
of pneumonia in the hospital all the
Yeah,
time.
don't go to the hospital. That's a death plague waiting to happen. That's a fair point. But yeah, now I see you got a bunch of people over here. We appreciate you guys coming in. Do us a favor though. Of course, we appreciate the subs and the likes. Those are awesome. And maybe one day we can actually have 1,000 subs, and that's when no, not the Twitter, it's the tubes, the YouTubes pay
Yeah.
attention to you. Which I don't know.
Yeah,
Maybe
and
that's a bad thing or a good thing.
then we could be like, send super chats, and then Chester can send all the super chat money to Booster, and he can do something with his life.
That's really inefficient. It'd be better if I just spent it on candies for you.
Oh, yeah, get rid of the middleman.
Right?
That's
But we
straight
appreciate
where
you
it's
guys.
going.
Hit that share button, please, and let everybody know because we're live streamers. But we do have a few people in here in the chat. We got Roger, of course, and he has an interesting comment. He says, "Well, looks like Umbrella Corps is about to be exposed today on TFT. The good thing
Go
is
straight
that
Resident
there
Evil,
is
baby.
no Wesker to be concerned about." Joshua Hughes is
Roger
promoting
Heller is
the
always there for us.
he is. He's amazing. Yeah. And Joshua Hughes is promoting the consumption of bats, which is awesome.
Mhm.
Booster says, "You eat those bats, you bigot." That's very nice.
Mhm,
Joe
mhm.
Moroni says, "Howdy. Check out the Dean Kuntz conspiracy theory. Yet, re coronavirus, re his 1981 book, The Eyes of Darkness." Oh, very nice, Joe. Thank you. And of course, there are
I
some.
don't like his name, Dean Koontz.
The eyes
That was a
He's
silly.
a good writer, dude.
It sounds like the sound a grenade launcher makes you. Goonts.
Okay. I've
Yeah,
never heard anyone say that before. That's first.
that's
He is a good
that
writer,
is
though.
100% what it is. Yeah, I'm correct.
And of course, there are some really good books and some adaptations made into movies, and even probably TV series about plagues. Of course, zombie plague seems to be a favorite of people these days for some reason, and I wonder if that says something about the zeitgeist of the modern world. But this is, of course, a legitimate threat, and we're going to look at the responses to it and the good and bad, because there is good. This isn't all bad today at all. But I guess it's time. I'm going to go over and do my primer so we can get in and start talking about this. So let me share with my panelist here. And now I was thinking about how to do my primer, and I was thinking maybe talk about the Black Plague, talk about the Spanish flu, all those kind of things that have, pandemics of the past. And those are horrible, millions dead, right? I mean, the Black Plague wiped out up to upwards of half of Europe, right? Depending on the statistics you look at. But I decided that, nah, you all know that. Let's get right into the meat of it. So here we go. Now, this is our little bugger we're dealing with. It's coronavirus, of course. They're calling it the novel coronavirus, WHO, and of course, what a novel name for it. Oh, it just sounds so undangerous, doesn't it? Interesting choice, don't you think? But of course, there are many coronaviruses, and coronaviruses tend to be the big pandemic threat we look at. And the reason for that is because they tend to be based around RNA infection rather than DNA infection. And the reason for that is with RNA, they are very mutable, and therefore they can mutate themselves out of an animal into a human. Right, these crossover diseases, so coronaviruses tend to do that. And of course, Spanish flu was a coronavirus, SARS, H1N1, I think it's called, or N1H1, or whatever the hell that thing. One of those, I think, is some kind of green card. But anyway, these things are very troublesome, and they can be quite deadly. And this one right here is as well. But this is what the puppy looks like. Now, as we look here, this thing is just kind of talking about coronavirus in general. Is looking at some of the things, signs to look at, which in general, if you're living in America or a first world country, there's really not much to worry about with this because those countries did get on top of it and they have basically dealt with it, and will hopefully not see any big spreading. But you never know. You never know. Because the problem with this is the mutation rate on this thing is ridiculously high. I mean, these things tend to, these RNA based ones tend to be very mutanogenable, if that's a word. But this one's really bad. Like I probably already mentioned before, there's an example in a single household in China where the father came in with the sickness and the other five members of the family each got infected, but with a different strain of it. That's how quick it's mutating from one person to the next. It's mutating. That's a problem. The incubation time on this is another one. It's up to 4 weeks, and you don't have any symptoms whatsoever. So you don't know you're sick. You're walking around making other people sick. It's a big problem. Of course, the contagion on this, or the not not R or R not infection rate on this thing is also ridiculous. It's 4.8, and to give you an example, there's a person who was infected after being in the presence, not touching, not picking up things, not getting sneezed on, just being next to a person for 50 seconds. 50 seconds. Whew, that's serious, right? So
Not
this
good.
thing's no joke,
It's not
not good. Yeah. But I have good news for you. I do. I do have good news for you because here's the thing. It seems that this thing is mainly attacking more the old, not all, but it seems to really hit the old. But a lot of sicknesses do, right? And it tends to like to kill men more than women, which is interesting. But interesting good news for most of my listeners are white people tend to have a really high resistance to it. Isn't that awesome?
Hooray!
That's pretty awesome, dude.
Hooray, white people!
Yeah, but it's not
I
just the
talked to
whites.
Thor and all the ACR. We took care of it. Don't worry. You guys are
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. It's not just the
Yeah,
whites though.
Caucasians.
Yay,
Yeah.
the blacks have a high resistance too.
You said Caucasian.
Yeah, that's what we need.
Oh, why did you pick these specific
Them,
photos?
them negroids.
Yeah,
Oh,
she don't
Oh,
need your she
no.
don't need your attitude, Booster.
No,
She don't need it.
mhm.
sure enough.
Show enough. The Shogun of Harlem. What a great movie, dude. If you haven't seen The Last Dragon, you go watch that movie because Leroy's gonna bring it down, baby.
Oh no.
Plus, you get Vanity not showing her boobs, but she still looks hot.
This disease thing on the left, that's what? Oh no, we're talking about vanity. I'm sorry. There was a
Yes,
joke in there. So
Vanity.
there was a joke in there
No
somewhere.
coronas up in here, baby.
Mm-hmm.
But isn't it interesting though that there is a racial component to this virus? Isn't that interesting? Especially
What?
because a lot of people are talking about the fact that China kind of got kicked out of Canada because they were found to be stealing stuff from the virology laboratory that they were working in. And then within a month, or less than a month actually, we had a virus starting up in China that was Asian specific. That's weird, right?
Sneaky,
It's
sneaky
sneaky. It's
Canadians.
very sneaky because I do. We've heard some people are making accusations that the Chinese government is using this to bring down their population. Well, we have found a solution. Maybe that's what's going on, or maybe not. But it's weird. It is a weird thing, because when you talk about these racial specific things, that's a very difficult, very, very difficult to come in. Now, we do have some diseases that are like that, but you got to keep in mind, we humans, it's very bizarre that we can make babies amongst each other, right? Because, we call ourselves different races, but if you look at us genetically, we're almost like a different species. And you can't take one type of monkey and make a baby with another kind of monkey, right? But we humans
Oh,
can,
you had
right?
to say monkeys.
But once again, you and the primates. I don't know what it is, but we humans can do that, and you have to ask yourself the reason why. And I think some of the things we've talked about here on TFT, we're understanding why do humans have 23 chromosomes, but yet primates have 24, and you have that connecting thing overarching us. I think is another species DNA across the entire top of us, even though the lower part of us is different. And I understand there's a joke in there,
You heard
but
it here
leave it
first,
be.
guys. We're all mermaids. You
We
heard it
are
here
all
first.
mermaids. You heard it her first.
Mermaids.
But it is
We
interesting, though, don't you
figured it
think?
out.
I mean, the fact that it is very specifically an Asian crafted disease. It's very interesting. But of course, we also have the Chinese government and their wonderful, wonderful response. Of course, at first they wanted to shut it up and didn't want to admit that it was a thing. And we had doctors and we had reporters here in China, over here in Asia, Chinese specifically, that were basically arrested. And of course, that Chinese doctor is now dead, supposedly from the disease, but who knows why he's dead, right? Um,
Allegedly.
allegedly. And of course, then the hospital released his death certificate, telling the news that he was dead. Then the Chinese government said, "No, he's not dead. He's alive." Then, of course, we came out. No, he's dead, right? But we have all this kind of cover up, and then it got to the point that China realized they couldn't keep it out, so then they started giving us these fake numbers that they're giving. And now, keep in
You know what I
mind,
know about that doctor?
yeah,
You know what I know about him?
uh-huh,
He looked like a man.
he looked like a man. He does look like a man. It's true.
Oh
Yeah.
God.
No, but keep in mind though that the Chinese government accused America of overblowing it when America was started giving warnings out. They accused everyone in the world of trying to make embarrass China by saying there's some kind of virus going on. Keep this in mind. They said this, right? Not only were they arresting anyone in China that was talking about it, they also were paying people off. News media's the WHO itself. Now, I'm going to get into them more at the end here, but because I'm pissed off actually when it
Oh,
comes to that. But the Chinese government is always lies. You can trust this, and they're just corrupt, vile, disgusting creatures, is what they are, right?
yes.
And that's what's
You could have
brought
just
us to
called them
where we are today.
communists. Chester, you could have just called them communists,
It's
and they would
fair.
have
You're fair.
covered
That's a
it.
fair point. I'll take that.
Godless commies.
But
Filthy commies.
But where does this bring us today? Well, they're digging these big old things over here, which they say this is going to be a hospital area. But I do believe this is probably a mass grave. And of course, remember, wear a mask or be arrested. So, keep your
Oh,
pets
Papa.
keep your pets
Oh,
safe as well. But we have several situations over here with people being arrested, of course, and there's your Canadian down in the bottom right-hand corner, by the way, being arrested by the Chinese government. They've actually arrested 2 or 3 Canadians right now. There's a little bit of a spat going on between
as
the
they
countries.
should. Yeah.
As you know, that's fair enough. But the thing with the Chinese is, and of course, I don't know why they're arresting the prostitutes. I mean, we need those. They get a pass, brother. They get a pass because they bring love and harmony to the world.
Yay!
Claps for the prostitutes,
That's for
indeed.
prostitutes.
But they're arresting people, like for instance, not wearing masks, and the problem is they can't buy masks because they're sold out, and that they don't care. They still arrest you, right? I mean,
That's the most communist thing I've ever heard in my life.
It's perfect, right? It's perfectly communist. Like they have, we've seen some, but we get a video every day on this over in Japan, and they actually are sending drones out. I mean, those big industrial type ones, right? Sending drones out throughout the communities, and looking for. They have a bunch of operators, of course, and they're looking for people who aren't wearing masks. And they showed us one on the Japanese news that was very interesting. There's an old lady, I mean, old lady, like 80 something, right? And she's just walking around, walking home out in disgusting, filthy streets. I mean, just look at these scenes in front of you. Look at the streets. Look how filthy they are. That's the one thing about China. The outside of everything is disgusting and filthy. They don't wash nothing. The inside's all right, but it is pretty disgusting. And you wonder why diseases kept popping up, right? But anyway, this old lady was just walking home. This drone comes up and it's basically, here in Asia, so ba-chan or auntie, right? And saying, you need to go home, wear your mask, what are you doing? And this drone's just following. The old lady's terrified. What's this hovering machine of death above her, right? And go home, auntie, we are watching you, right?
Uh,
80-year-old lady, right? And of course, I could go on and on and on about the amount of videos that are coming out of China showing them brutalizing, arresting, tearing people out of their homes, breaking down doors, barring in people, walking down the streets, spraying who God knows what on top of people. The Chinese government has way, way underreacted and then overreacted. And it's absolute communist debauchery, and that's what always happens in these type of societies. And just keep in mind, that's what Bernie Sanders wants for you. Put that on an ad. Maybe he'll win. But
hmm hmm
which
Or
you
maybe
know,
you'll get screwed by the DNC again, and what a shame that would be.
well, they just did it a week ago. I mean,
hmm hmm
they're all a bunch of liars. But here's the thing. I mean, I could go on and on and on about this, and maybe I will. We'll probably do some searching on stuff as we usually do. But my last point is this one. This is the Ethiopian leader of the World Health Organization, and he calls himself a close personal friend of Xi, the premier of China. And these guys, not only did they react very slow to a potential pandemic, an epidemic to be sure, but a potential pandemic, which, of course, is their frickin' job, right? These guys have been lying from the beginning. First things, oh, it's not that big a deal. The flu kills more. And then, of course, all the little shill media started repeating this left and right, right? Oh, no, no, people are overreacting. People overreacting, right? You start getting countries, because, of course, they blame America. America doesn't care, especially under Trump. It's like, screw you, China. We're sending in a plane. So we did, and we got our people out. Japan did the same. Many other countries tried to follow suit. Taiwan, of course, a country, had a bunch of people in Wuhan and wanted to get them out. The Chinese government wouldn't even acknowledge them. And eventually, a private businessman paying who knows how much money finally got them to get a plane in. But once they got in there, the Chinese government officials were taking kickback money from Taiwanese who were there. Therefore, the plane got filled up with a bunch of rich Taiwanese, not single person who was actually sick and needed help, right? After all of that work, because, just corruption on top of corruption. And then what does China do on top of that? They have this bastard right here get up there and start knocking and blaming Taiwan for something. And why? What is all this nonsense? What's wrong with Taiwan? Well, because China doesn't want to admit that Taiwan is its own country because they consider it China, right? And all this nonsense to the point of having the World Health Organization president come out speaking bad about a country. Politics, politics. Now I'll tell you something from my point of view. I can enjoy and have a laugh at politics depending where it is, but one place there should never be politics is with the frickin' World Health Organization. What is wrong with you? This is one of the few worldwide organizations that should be incorruptible. I mean, can you even fathom the absolute destruction that could come from this type of political corruption? This is insanity. Insanity. This guy should be fired immediately. All the people who are on the board and in charge of World Health Organization be fired immediately, and there should be investigations, and people should go to jail. It's plain and simple. This is raw corruption, and we cannot have We cannot have the WHO being corrupt at all. It is unacceptable. Unacceptable.
Well, they're completely corrupted by the same mind virus that's destroying every institution on the planet right now, and that's Marxism. It's the
Yeah.
modern form of Marxism, neo-Marxism, that that I can almost guarantee you is the reason this man from Ethiopia is the head of the World Health Organization. Because why in God's name would a rational organization that's supposed to represent the entire world pick somebody from a country who can't even maintain their own shit? They can't keep themselves
Sure.
together. It's insane to me. You have a dirge of first world countries you could pick this person from. If you don't want to pick a white one, pick a Korean, pick a Japanese guy.
Oh yeah.
Heck, you'd almost pick a Chinese guy, and it'd probably be better off than Ethiopian.
To
So I
be
don't understand.
to be fair, he might well be a good doctor. I don't know.
He could be a great doctor, but still, he's representing the world. We should pick only from the best possible well to
Yeah.
represent the world and to run an organization that's important. Just like the UN, that's supposedly important. It's not really because it basically has no teeth without America. Um, we let just anybody run that thing. It's insane. And it's the
Yeah.
same ideology. It's the same weird idea that we have to include everybody, even though they're just plain not ready for it.
Yeah, but see, the
And
UN is unimportant though. The UN has no
yeah,
meaning or value.
I
This,
even
the
said that.
WHO has value, dude. It's important.
Well, here's why I say that they've been infested, because they're already caving largely to the ridiculous LGBTQI blah, 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 agenda and just changing things on a whim with no evidence, no scientific data, nothing to back it up. They'll change different classifications and descriptions and things. And they're doing that because it's infested with the same thing that's infested all of the Western, which, let's be honest, this is a Western organization.
It
All of the
is.
Western institutions, not all of them, all of them's not the right term, but a very huge portion of them.
I see.
And it's seriously dangerous when you don't have these organizations exist for a reason. The World Health Organization exists for a reason. And when you don't have the best people there and you have some weird nepotism or you have some weird racism or you have some other thing that put them in this position. And you know what? I could be wrong. He could be the best doctor in the world. I don't know. But I'm going to err on the side of I'm probably right. And
He's
he's
probably more
probably there.
political than medical,
Yes,
I'm
it's a
assuming.
political
But
political position and not a
yeah,
medical position.
just to clarify, then, with all the changes and new clarification, new titling, even, is Muff Diver still official? Just curious. Anyway, but yeah, no. I mean, all levity aside, this is nonsense. This is nonsense. I mean, it should shock you to the bone. That's an organization that should be the most practical, efficient, cold hard science type of a group is being led by political, corrupt bastards. It's a This is a major problem because
Mhm.
when they speak, every news media on the planet responds to it. Everyone, right? This is a big problem, and this for me is the biggest problem because China lying, big shock. All they ever do is lie. It's not a strange thing. I take everything the Chinese government says with an absolute truckload of salt, right? But
Mhm.
this is a different situation, and this really, really irritates me. I mean, this kind of thing right here, like this, you can find pictures like this coming out of China every day about whatever stupid thing. The Chinese government, basically what happens is it roams around China, and every time it lands in a new town or a new city, it does this kind of stuff. And the only really good thing for the people in China is the fact that it isn't in their city all the time. It roams around. That's the only positive I can say for it. But when the Communist Party is in town, this happens all the time. And of course, with the arresting of people who are trying to help, it's a complete nonsense. And but the stuff that they've done with Taiwan, politics in a time of panic, and of course the Chinese government is in full panic mode. Understand this; they are in full panic mode. The things they're doing, the brutality of what how they're going about it is just outrageous. I wasn't joking, by the way. We've seen a bunch of videos of them literally bashing down people's doors and dragging them out, kicking and screaming, just because they had family that live in Wuhan. Not because they visited recently, but because have somehow connected to Wuhan. They're tearing people out of their homes. And what are they doing with them? They're putting them in giant open air gymnasiums. So if you're not infected, boy, you're gonna be, right?
Wow. Yeah,
Uh,
that's crazy.
it's
That's
craziness.
insane.
Now, Thundera, if you could do me a favor, let me come
Mhm.
back over the other side. Could you give me the rolling total of death, please?
As of about 20 minutes ago, before we went live, CNN reported that it was 910 people have officially, quote, I'm using as big a air quotes as I possibly can, officially been confirmed dead from the virus itself. 908 in China, two outside of China, with one in Hong Kong, so basically in China,
Mhm.
and the other in the Philippines, so very close to China. The West has not had, even of all the cases that have been reported here, has not had a single death.
Well, Japan had
Uh,
one.
and yeah, I believe Japan had one.
Yeah.
So other than that, it's pretty well isolated in China. It seems like Western medicine, or really first world medicine, to be honest, is able to handle it
Yeah.
and you know get it out. As long as the person isn't weak or sick or whatever, they get it out and
Yeah.
they're fine.
Yeah, no, they're having a lot of success with hemorrhagic fever treatments as well as AIDS treatments, which is odd. But yeah, no, the West is dealing with it. I really don't think it's going to become a pandemic. I mean, fingers crossed, right? I really don't think it will. I'm worried about it getting into the African and Indian population, however, because those populations, although there are places in India and Africa that have the most cutting edge medical availability. In general, they don't. And this thing, especially seeing as tends to be more effective against the Asian, the Indians are closer to that than the Africans. So if it get into India, because keep in mind, China says they have over 1 billion people. They lie. They don't have that many people. Matter of fact, I'd be surprised if they had more than 500 million living in China, actually. And yes, I said it, Bullet. India, on the other hand, does have over 1 billion people, and the majority of them are dirt poor and they're primitive as hell. I mean, keep in mind the vast majority of the Indian population shits outside daily. They don't even have the concept of indoor plumbing. They don't have it. They don't even have outhouses. I mean, God, we've had outhouses how long in the West? They don't even have that. They just go shit in the woods, man. That's
Hmm.
India
Or in the street.
or in the street, right? This is the reality of India. No matter what they try to sell you and say, Cheshire, you're being racist. Why am I being racist? I'm not the one shitting in the street. Well, I mean, right? But I mean,
Yeah.
imagine, and now those people, therefore, there's a lot of disease in India. Another thing they don't tell you about it, there's a lot of people die in India from disease. They have their lifespans are not as long as you imagine they should be, because they get killed off because of their filthy lifestyle, right? But
Mhm.
imagine getting this kind of disease rampant in the Indian population, dude. That would be absolute virulent, and there would be no way to stop it. Be no way to stop it. They have no infrastructure in place to stop something like that. At least China has an infrastructure. It's not operating very well. It's not ultimately modern, but there is an infrastructure, right? India has nothing like that. So I'm really worried about it getting in there, because that could be really, really, really bad. And
And for the most part, the Chinese infrastructure is just there for the wealthy, and the poor just get the bare bones minimum kind of
that's true.
care. Just
Yeah.
keep them out of the hospitals and stuff.
Yeah, but see, that's true. But then that infrastructure, like that picture I was showing with all those front loaders, right? Are basically they're using those to literally wall people up. So they have technology to, it's not necessarily the best solution, but it is a solution, right? They've walled up 15 cities, totaling 57 million people, and there's no in and out for those people. They're in there for the duration, either live or die. And but the real thing with this disease, the real problem is is the numbers. Now, give us those totals again, the infected and dead, please.
Let's see what we got here. As of right now, the total dead is, let's see, the confirmed cases of coronavirus is more than 40,000.
Mhm.
Almost all of those are in mainland China. The total dead is 910, with 908 of those being in China. This is according to CNN. Now, I did hear that there was one in Japan who passed from it too. But that they're not reporting it for some reason, so I don't know if maybe they ruled out that it was the corona. I don't know.
Did you say only a 900 did?
Yes.
I mean, we're talking about China, man. A stiff breeze kills more people than that, really.
It's true. Well,
That's
the
the other thing, though, and that's the other thing. You want to get into the TFT part of it. Is one, CNN uses a very Western small population frame when it reports things, so it'll say things like 900. It's supposed to scare us because we think of 900 in America, and that's a lot,
that's
quite
a
a lot.
lot. That's a
In
lot.
China,
Yeah.
that's nothing. That's
Yeah.
that's one neighborhood. Like there's so many people there, we just don't wrap our brain around
Yeah,
the
but
vast.
once again, keep in mind that in itself is also a lie. There is nowhere near as many people in China as they keep telling you. That is a lie. And if you don't
Really?
believe me, I challenge you with this. And I kind of said this to the guys the other day. If you go and look after the war, World War II,
Spin it to us, Chester.
I am spinning it, baby.
Mansplain it.
Now I'm going to mansplain it, wild man spread, balls out. All right.
Oh,
Yeah, baby.
Now, the American military went in there and did a census of China after the war, and they found that there were, I think it was 56 million people living in China at the time, which you said, "Ooh, that's a pretty low number." But keep in mind, the past 80 years has seen just an absolute ridiculous population explosion across the world because of our modern medicines and things like that, technologies. And they also just went through a war where the Japanese killed who knows how many millions, right? But this was the number. Now, if you take that number and you try to do the math to get from 1950 what up until this point, and you take in mind that the communists killed hundreds of millions of people, they had massive famines that killed off even more. They've had a one-child policy in place for decades, which they just currently kicked off. And why would they do that if it's a problem? And if you do the math, you're going to find out that every woman needs to have had 10 babies. All those babies survived to adulthood to have 10 more babies. This is how you have to get to this number of 1.3 billion. It's bullshit. And
I
I'm
could believe it.
quoting the president, by the way.
Wasn't that great? It was all
Bullshit.
bullshit.
And he doesn't swear. Now, keep that in mind. Trump is not a swearer. He's not.
at least not since he's been president. No, he's not.
No. Yeah, right. But he's not. He's not a vulgar guy. You get plenty of presidents that are super vulgar, right? Even Obama said he really has to work hard. Had to work hard not to be cussing left and right. Well, Trump is not that kind of dude. He's very clean. He doesn't do drugs. He doesn't drink. He's just that kind of guy, right? So that's pretty strong language coming from him. But nevertheless,
Why did they clap for Rashida Tlaib? I think it was when it said, called him a motherfucker.
oh, that lady, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, that's the hypocrisy of it. Like, he said bullshit. Oh my god.
Yeah, exactly. Well, hypocrisy is the name of the day when it comes to politics, isn't it? On both sides, keep that in mind. I mean, to be fair, though, if you
Both
go,
sides,
well,
verified people, both sides.
well, they were.
What she said is
There
she was
were,
talking
though.
to her child, and she goes, yeah, baby, we're gonna get the motherfucker. That's what she said. And I'm
Yeah.
like,
Yeah, yeah,
what?
yeah. Yeah. But if you go and you do the kind of counting, you look at the biased political nature of the conservative to the liberal. The liberals are much worse, and they're in fine form right now, which of course applies to what's going on because of them hiding stuff and their fake news, and it's involving the coronavirus as well. The thing I was trying to get to with the numbers from Thundero is the fact that the actual numbers we're getting out of China here in Japan from the actual doctors in China is 150,000 infected, 70,000 dead. So, and this is the real question with this virus, right? Is we know it's just ridiculously contagious. I mean, ridiculously contagious. We know that it has a long incubation, which of course leads to epidemic, pandemic states, right? But all these numbers we can throw around, which I've thrown out a bunch already. The only number that really matters is the fatality percentage, right? That's what matters because the West is throwing out things like 3%, 2%. Right. But if you look at the numbers I just gave you, which are coming from the actual doctors in China, that's a 50% fatality. 50%. Now that's the scary
Fatality.
number. Well, I mean, that's the only number that matters, right? So,
At the end of the day, yeah, that's the one that is important.
yeah. So, and keep in mind, like I said the other day, their crematoriums are running 24/7. They're not doing any ceremonies. They're not doing any of the normal stuff you do for a funeral. They're just burning bodies all day long, all of them, full capacity. This tells you that there's far more than 800 dead. Now, the fact that we're seeing these huge, gigantic jumps day to day, even minute to minute in some cases, depending on the news cycle, this is just China trying to get themselves up to near the number that it actually is, little by
Mm.
little, right? To gain more sympathy, gain more support, gain more money. Who knows what kind of political nonsense they're up to? Because trust me, it's all politic. They don't care who's dying in their country. They don't. But I'll tell you one thing, since we talked a little bit of politics earlier, if we had a bunch of people dying in America, I tell you one person who would care at Donald Trump, right?
Hmm.
Now that's one thing you can't take away from that guy because a lot of these like Pelosi and her fake religiousness and all that kind of stuff, they wouldn't care if you dropped over dead. They could care less if you dropped over dead. But one thing about Donald Trump, no matter what you say about him, no matter how crass he is, that dude would give a shit. He would actually care because he loves his country. Yeah.
Yes, I wholeheartedly agree with you. I think he does. He didn't have to be. He didn't have to run for president, and do all this stuff. He was a
No.
multi-billionaire. He could have easily just, chilled out and been a billionaire the rest of his life. Had sex
Oh,
with his beautiful
Thundara.
wife.
You know he's trying to make himself a king. I mean, it's obvious. It's totally obvious. He's
He
going to
already
be a
was a
despot
king.
for life. I mean,
I'd vote for that.
why would he not want to be? With all the fun things that go with being the despot the size with a country the size of ours. Oh my gosh, it's so simple, so obvious. You people
Yeah.
are snowblind. You people are brainwashed. What's wrong with you?
Very
Okay,
good
And
that's
point.
awesome.
Very good
snowblind has
point.
been going
Yeah.
like crazy here the last few days.
Ooh, snow. I don't have
Mm.
snow. I have nice sunny days, damn it. Oh well. But
Nice.
anyway, I think I have laid out very clearly what the situation is, and we're going to have more conversations, I'm sure. But let me go see if the chat has an opinion on
Oh
any of
boy,
this.
get ready.
Well, we got 23 people up in here, so let's check it out. Oh my God! Came in here, looked, there was like three things. Now there's like, oh my God, you people have something to say. All right. Flying Saucer says, hey guys, well, hello. Apparently, there's a Chinese bioweapon called Wuhan 400 in the novel. Oh, sweet. Yeah, no, the novel virus. Get that? Novel meaning unimportant, right? Wink, 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 wink. And the murder of a defector trying to expose the secret. They murder them all the time. What do you think the whole Hong Kong thing is about? Who are still flying, I saw a Spanish fly, it made me say fly. Oh, goodness, Dave. But they're still fighting for their freedom, by the way. The whole thing they're fighting for in Hong Kong is because the Chinese government just rips people out who said something they don't like and murders them in some dark hole, right? And talk about the Spanish fly. We should talk about Spanish fly. I've never used one. Have you ever used one, Thundero? No. I
I have
bet you.
not.
No, I have.
I
I
have
bet you
not.
Slick has though. Slick's an experienced man. You ever use a Spanish fly?
No, it's hogwash. It's snake
Hmm.
oil.
Is it? I have no idea. I've never even seen one. I don't even know what it really is.
I don't either, to be honest with you. I know it's a wrestling maneuver. I
Well,
know
no,
that.
it's a sexual thing. I thought it was like a some type of condom, or I don't
It's
know
just
what it
supposed to
is.
be. It's supposed to be an aphrodisiac,
Is
and it's
it?
supposed to make women horny.
Oh, like
So
oysters?
you
Yeah.
put a little bit of it in their drink, and they'll jump your bones. That's
Aphrodisiac
the
elixir
idea.
made from the crushed body parts of the blister
You know
beetles.
what an
Process.
aphrodisiac is?
Well, Booster's
It's
trying to
just
explain it. Let's listen.
Purported to arouse those that ingest it, toxic in large quantities. Any arousal stemming from Spanish flies is mild and not at all like the Beastie Boys would have you believe. Oh, that's a shame.
no.
Oh, I see.
You want
There you go.
Spanish fly? You want the real Spanish fly? Quaaludes.
Oh, rock on. There we go. Now we're talking drugs. Me, I just do a little jiggly dance and try not to knock her out. That's
Hmm.
Quaaludes won't knock her out. It'll just make her very
that
amorous.
that was a,
And
that
you
was a
mix that with a
large
little bit of
that was
ecstasy,
a
and boom.
large penile joke, Slick. I'm sorry. I'm
I
sorry. It
know. I
wasn't. I
got it.
didn't
I
make it
moved on.
clear.
I thought you were talking about your belly. Oh,
No, we could go there too. Why not? But
yeah.
all right, let's get away from that and try to stay serious. Joe says the coronavirus is the crowning achievement in flu-like viruses. Ha! Get it, crown. I see myself out. All right, very good, Joe. Entitlement, Ray Thulu says. Yeah, that's the word of the day for sure, isn't it? White privilege. Yay. About the white people are less affected. No, that's interesting. We have to talk about that more. We'll get back to that. Privilege is real, certainly is. Women have a lot of it. Joe says, sounds like Professor Farmsworth. Good news, everybody. The virus only kills the old and men. Show enough. Bruce Leroy. That's right, Eric. Uh, I love that movie, though. That's one of my guilty pleasures for damn sure. I love that flick, dude. I thought it was created to quell the Hong Kong insurrection. Well, you know what? We have to talk about that more too, because that is the conspiracy theory part of this. What is this? A designer virus? Is it? I mean,
Absolutely.
well, I mean that's easy enough to say, but I mean, do we have any evidence to point that direction?
Yes.
Flying Saucer is angry. John Diller says Mexicans are the only race that can impregnate all other races. True fact. Okay, John, but just keep in mind that your Mexicans are also the ones who tend to bring a lot of diseases into the world. Just so you
And
know.
drugs.
And drugs. Yeah,
And
diseases and
crime.
drugs, John. Diseases and
And
drugs.
sombreros.
Swine
and
flu. Oh, do it.
tacos.
And I like tacos though. I'll take
I
one of
like
those.
tacos.
Yeah.
We'll forgive you for the drugs and AIDS
Yeah.
because you
Yeah.
have tacos.
That's
And
true. Yeah.
quesadilla.
Nixie says there. This has nothing to do with the coronavirus. You racist. What are you talking about? Panda cute but stupid. Yeah, they are. They're right.
Yeah, yeah.
John Diller says Mexicans make the most high tech drones that can carry the most weight. True fact. All right. Nixie says this is all Trump's fault. He created the coronavirus to get a better trade deal. Dude, I guarantee you, there are people saying that kind of shit. I guarantee it. Right? Jeremy Pierboom says, "What does Booster want for the people of not only China but the rest of the world?" By the
I have
way,
a really
Booster World
great
Order.
idea when I'm dictator.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Do what I say
Mm-hmm.
or I'll shoot you.
Sweet, that might
Yeah.
work. Yeah,
Yeah, I think.
I think it's a good idea. I think we should go with that.
What a humanitarian.
What a humanitarian. Yeah, I'm
Mm-hmm.
glad I'm his friend when he becomes the leader of the world. That's a good place to
Oh,
be.
I'm gonna be an unbiased dictator, so you won't be exempt from getting shot in the face, I'm afraid.
Booster,
I
you
I am
owe
a
me everything.
humble
He's an,
I am but
he's
a
an
humble,
egalitarian megalomaniac.
modest.
Yeah.
Mhm. Exactly.
Eh,
No
eh,
bias
just
for my
I just want
dictatorship.
maple bacon, smoked maple bacon. That should be my domain. You give me complete control of smoked maple bacon, and we're good. All right. John Diller
Yeah,
says, Chester, I heard the coronavirus is basically a mild version of the sniffles. Is this so?
confirmed.
Confirmed. Incorruptible. That's naive. Goodness gracious. Let's see. Flying Social says, but civilization started in Africa. Well, that's becoming more and more questionable. And I was even questioning that, not just me, but that was even being questioned when I was back in university in the frickin' 80s, dude. Let's see. Rodwell's says, kick. Who should I kick? Thundero? Lightning bolt the booster just for safe measure, please.
Pew,
There
pew,
it is.
pew.
There it is. All right. Joe says, you
I have
can't.
to lightning bolt myself with sound effects. I
I
don't like this
know it's
arrangement.
horrible. It's horrible.
Yeah,
Joe says you
torture.
can't trust a monolithic organization to tell the truth. Come on now. WHO watches the Watcher. Who watches the Watcher? Sorry. But no, I mean, come on. You guys know what I'm saying. The WHO should be an incorruptible organization. It should be. It's actually an important one, dude. There's so many organizations that go around talking about how great they are, the UN, the heritage groups, all those things like that. Who cares? They have no value whatsoever. No more. Usually, they cause more trouble than not. But the WHO needs to be efficient and effective. It must be. It's an important thing, right? And it's just it's unacceptable. Flying Saucer says K-pop riot, dude. If there was a specific designer disease that would kill all K-poppers, I would not be against it. I'm pretty sure. Miora says communism, not even once. Spencer Toon says yo Chester, what's up, Booster? Hey, I get a yo, you just get a what's up.
Yo, yo.
Yeah.
Hey, yo. What's up, my Lakers?
Muir says, shit, I meant communism, not even once. Not that that's what commies say. Yeah, of course. Chester's right. That's exactly what they're doing. It is. I'm sure I was right. Nixie says, Twitter fact, only 2% of cases have reported deaths, and most of these deaths were associated with weaker immune systems, old age. Yeah, I know that's the official. That's kind of the point. The official is like around 2 to 3%, depending who you're listening to. But yet the numbers we're getting out of China are closer to 50. These aren't the official government numbers, but these are coming from the actual doctors. And keep in mind, these doctors are begging for help. They're begging the West for help. And of course, China is blocking any help coming in at all because, oh, it's not a big deal. We got it. Right? And America, finally, because America was attached to it, but there is a UN group that's going to be going in that has actual American scientists in it as well. Finally, China has let some, going to be letting them in, but look how long it took them. I mean, honestly. Let's see here. Muir says that 3-day hospital they're so proud about. No toilets, no washrooms, no doctors, no nurses, just a big room with beds and a place, and all the patients herded into it. Yep. There are no bathrooms in those places, no place to wash up. There's no doctors. There's hardly any food. There's not even any kind of sanitary products or anything like that. That was just a political thing that the Chinese did to try to save face with the West. That's all that was. Just waiting to die. That's right. Jeremy says, "You heard Muir. Chester is considered for your brown people." I don't know what that means, but rock on. Pooh and Lou is more than a 4chan meme. Did Chester just talk trash about Bullet? No, I love Bullet. Flying Social says, "More like the towns of Vlad the Impaler. Fill them, burn them." Ooh. Quite the reference, but a good historical one. And you guys know how I appreciate that. China is doing whatever evil government does in zombie movies. It's true. Nixie, Twitter fact, washing hands and sneezing in elbows is the best way to prevent coronavirus. Fake news here today. Hannah Kirk, why'd you start right when I was taking a bath? Well, you should have told me you were taking a bath, Hannah. You know, you should keep me informed of such things. Mira says, well, Trump.
Well, now
Hannah,
you know.
the best way to relax in a bath is to listen to TFT.
That's true.
And you should remember that in the future.
That's right. Yeah.
For all your conspiracy needs.
That's right. But it's also the place where you get the sexy on top of sexy. Yeah, that's true. Very good. Anyway, for all that, Mira says, well, Trump used to appear on reality TV. I'm sure he's had training in not to not swear. Well, yeah, but from what I understand, Trump just in general is not a swearer. It's just not how he is.
He's just an angel.
Well, no, he's not. But I'm just saying it's just not
He's just
part
such a
of his
sweetie.
character. Yeah.
He's practically a human puppy man.
Well, dude, I mean, it's a simple fact of the matter. The dude doesn't swear much.
He gives little kissies to orphans.
He doesn't do drugs. He doesn't drink. It's just part of his character.
Prays 5 times a day.
And even when he's grabbing him by the pussy, he's very clinical.
He is. That's true. Lol, Trump had zero empathy. What are you talking about, dude? Trump is quite empathic, actually. Nick C says, Twitter fact, the panic and hysteria that's happening is fueled by racism and xenophobia. No evidence
true.
or practicality.
I actually
Nothing
saw an
justifies
article
being
the other
rude to
day
others.
that suggested that being hygienic is a white supremacist thing.
You know, it probably is, Booster. It probably is.
Wash behind your ears and wash under your nuts. It's just, you need to do that.
Yeah.
That
Now,
makes you racist.
now James says he's doing it for his own grandiosity and his freaking ego. That's probably true.
He's not a Trump fan. Oh.
Yeah, no, well, that's okay though. I mean, Trump is all about his own grandizement and his own ego. Sure, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Spanish fly is just crunched up chitin of the what is that, demistid beetle? All right, cool, thank you. Who needs Spanish fly when you have ripnol? Ripnol.
Is it chitin or chitin? Or
Uh,
the two different
it's
pronunciations?
chitin. It's chitin. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Itchy. It actually induces itching. Itching's not good, James. I'm not using Spanish fly. Damn it. Jeremy says, Chester,
Depends on
have
where
you
the
ever
itch
used?
is, I suppose.
Yeah, maybe. Now
What
hold on a
is
second.
so? Spanish fly it just makes you horny.
I guess that's
Huh?
that's it. Yeah. Now
I must be on it right now.
no,
Whoa,
I
you're in
must
a
be
room
on it.
with 3 other dudes.
yeah,
Mister, what's
dude.
going on?
I'm
Yeah,
just
dude.
I'm on it all the
That
time,
never stopped
baby.
him before.
That's true. Chester, have you
Uh-huh.
ever used a tenga egg? What's a tenga egg? Anybody know what that is?
Is it
Booster,
like the
Sounds
search
banana
that.
Asian.
balls?
I don't
It
know.
sounds very Asian. I'm looking
Yeah,
it up.
check it out. Check it out. Check it out. Check it out. No, I haven't. I don't need any props, dude. I got it.
Well,
I got it under control, brother.
I think it's something for your butt.
Ew. I don't want to do it with
The
my butt.
sex toy that
Does it
it
give
is a
you a
sex
boogie in the
toy.
butt?
The most it was the most luxurious wank ever apparently. It's for wanking. There
What?
there you
I'm not a
go.
homosexual.
I
I
don't
don't need
know how
anything in
you
or
wank
around
with
my
an
butt.
egg, but there you go. That's
No,
what it is.
Jeremy.
But I'm glad we're on this topic for
Bad,
the
Jeremy.
TFT.
Bad. Beavis and Butthead covered Spanish Fly in the 90s. Okay, cool.
I went away because I was being attacked
Oi.
by my coronavirus, and I come back and we're talking about jerking off. What
That's
happened?
hey,
Yeah.
dude. That's not on me. That's Jeremy and Booster's fault.
Jeremy and
They're still
Booster
talking about
sitting in a
Spanish Fly,
tree,
dude.
wanking all over the branches.
Stop it. Stop it, Slick.
While on TFT.
Nixie says, Twitter fact, misinformation and racism is more dangerous than any virus. Check for references and look for evidence,
It's
not
true.
ideology. Who's watching the watcher, I guess. How's your comic says, as long as the world is flat, we're fine. Well, there you go, dude. We're all good then, because it definitely is flat. The world is flat.
But what if someone accidentally tips the world and all the coronas starts like leaking down the flat Earth?
That's
Yeah,
right.
fair
It is
point.
flat. I went down and
Yeah.
talked to those 4 elephants, and they told me the turtle said that it's flat.
That's right. That's
Uh-huh.
right. There you go. How's your
I
comic
think
says,
those
have you
elephants
ever
are full
looked
of
up
shit.
Adam's calendar in South Africa? Not only do I know about Adam's calendar in South Africa, I have been following it and in actually in the read of that since it was found a long time ago. This is not a new thing. It's been around quite a while. It's just recently become popular. So I actually know quite a bit about Adam's calendar, and it is a very interesting and impressive site. But there's a lot of things around it that the whole area is impressive, and maybe we should do a TFT on that one day, just to talk about the area, because there is a conspiracy theory to it. Because the historians, of course, are saying that those are all things built by shepherds, with no doors or no windows, and they're all very specific stones, many of them brought from far away, nowhere near the area, but shepherds built them. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
What are you
That's
talking about?
no, it's a TFT, dude. That is Adam's calendar and all the little stone circles that are around it in the millions. Millions, millions. Yes, I use the M word. Millions. That's a TFT we definitely got to do. Write that down, Booster. Adam's calendar.
Write that down.
Write that down.
Chester's all of a
Right
sudden
now.
Van Wilder.
Yeah. Where's the new icon, Chester? Oh yeah, no, I got to do that. Thank you very much. Curious. I am going to get on that. He sent that to me, and I'm going to get on it. Thank you for
You
reminding
gotta
me.
get that colored.
No, yeah, no, you're right. I'll have to see about getting that done, because it's freaking beautiful. Hey, Cat is in here, dude. Are we going to be talking about how the coronavirus is coming for us all? Not really.
You're late. We're
Yeah,
talking about sex toys now.
we are.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's true. Hannah Kirk says, my therapist.
Coronavirus-filled sex
I,
toys.
I was gonna
Stimmy
ask
wave.
why Cat is
God.
never on our shows anymore, but I think I just found the answer.
There it is. There it is. There it is. Hannah says, my therapist tried to use the fact that China created the hospital quickly as an argument why government was good and why we have socialist policies. Yeah, to your therapist. Well, why are you going to the therapist anyway, Hannah? I
Thank
mean,
you.
I
Well,
mean,
specifically that therapist, but anyway.
yeah. Yeah. I mean, the thing is, it's nice to have someone to talk to and get your problems out to. It does help for to let your problems out. That is a fair point. But really, the best therapist you could ever have, Hannah, is you. I mean,
That's why
honestly.
I go climb up
Yeah,
on top of a hill in front of my valley and often just go yell because there's shit I have to say.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
that's
you
why they
laugh,
call it a
but
howl.
that's what the Japanese do. You don't have this whole psychology therapy thing in Japan at all, right?
Yeah,
I
I
mean,
thought the Japanese just killed themselves.
well, that happens too.
I
That's a
thought
fair
that
point.
was.
But no, they do.
There's a little bit of that,
There's a
Booster.
little
Okay.
bit of that. But no, they'll actually walk down to the ocean and just scream into the wind. It is a Japanese thing, man, and it's incredibly cathartic it's good for you.
I
But
always just expect that they all just have like a little sword on hand. They're like, you know what, I'm done. I've had enough, and they just put that in there. Seppuku,
Wakasashi it.
wakazashi.
wakizashi. There's actually a wakizashi right here in my town, my little village, actually.
Yeah.
Anyway, Eric says
You have a
Chester.
village wakazashi
We do.
where you
Yeah.
guys have to share it.
Yeah, I know, right? But no, we do. We have a village wakizashi. We do.
Oh, that'd
Uh,
be the most Asian
Everybody
thing
wants to. Everybody who wants to commit suicide has
well,
to stand in line and wait for the Wakasashi.
ever. And they
because
all do peacefully.
no, there's a this is an interesting little thing. There's a ceremony that happens around March, I think, so soon, where all the newborn babies from the previous year are brought to the temple, and they have guys dressed in oni costumes doing a little dance, and there's this big rope tied across the entryway. To the temple, and they do their little dance, and they take an actual wakizashi, and they cut the rope, and then the children enter, and then they kind of swing the sword around the children's head, not killing them. And then they do everything they can to scare the hell out of the children so that they'll cry, just straight out terrified crying, because this gets the bad spirits out and brings them into the world as living things. It's an annual ceremony that you need a sharp blade for. Sweet.
For the most
Do a little
atheistic country
dance,
in
scare
the
the shit
world.
out of the children. Get down tonight.
Get
For
down
the most
tonight.
atheistic
Yeah.
they sure have a lot of weird spiritualistic rituals.
They do, and they're all traditional based. They don't believe any of it. So, but what do you want?
It's the most Asian thing in the world.
It is, right? Eric says they don't have
Why
an
do you do it? Because we do.
dude. The Asians don't have ethos at all, man. Well, except for Thailand, they're actually quite religious. But there is no ethos here in Asia at all. They don't believe anything, dude. Eric says, Chester, my dear boy, enjoying things around your butt doesn't mean you are a homosexual, right, Booster? Yes, it does.
What? There's a G spot in there. There's nothing wrong with telling a girl to just, pop
Shut
the
And that's the
cigarette
up.
only
in.
way you can get cigarettes in. God damn it.
Yeah.
Damn it. You people. You people.
Just
Anyway,
a little pinky, just a little dip in the river, you know what I'm saying?
hey,
A little-
yeah, God damn it. Yowza Comic says, Anunnaki baby. Yeah, that's right. And he continues by William Tellinger, too. Yeah, no, I will definitely cover William Tellinger. That is a very interesting dude. TFT Talk, Adam's Apple. Ooh, we could get into that, too. Yeah. Whoops, Michael Tellinger. Tellinger. No,
well,
I think it
a
is Michael.
different talented.
No, I think he's right. It is Michael, not William. But a very interesting fellow, South African actually, and he's directly involved in that whole Adams calendar thing.
But were
Well,
you
we'll
thinking
we'll
of
do a
William
TFT on it.
Tell or something? Like,
No. It's Tellinger for sure. It's a very interesting fella.
Alright.
But we'll do TFT on that for sure, Yowza. Joe says yelling into the ocean, blame Yoko Ono. Curious 2A says the Japanese don't come back from their walks in the woods. Occasionally. Flying Soldier says Japanese Forest of the Dead, real thing. It is. Jinx. Raythul says Chester, have you ever attended the Kanamara? What is he trying to say?
Kanamara
Matsuri.
Matsuri.
The Kanamara Matsuri. Yeah, no, I have, of course.
Sounds like
Model 3 says, in my village, they swing the young children around overhead. Now, that works too.
they have to learn somehow.
What's the Kanamana something or another?
The Kanamara
Kanamara
Matsuri.
Matsuri.
What is that? For the uninitiated.
It's a festival. It's a Shinto based. You got to keep in mind that Japan is a culture that is split between Buddhism and or Shintoism. Basically, Buddhism, of course, is coming out of India, which you guys know what Buddhism is to a point, and Shintoism or Shintoism is basically the old animistic culture, like we all had. Thor, Zeus, all that kind of stuff. It's the same kind of thing. And they have that both here. Basically, Shinto is for life, Bukyo or Buddhism is for death. Right, when you die, it's for all those kind of ceremonies. But interesting political thing, because China, we've talked about this before. China doesn't really attack outside its borders, but not militarily anyway. But they do attack politically, and you can follow the political successes and growing maturity of Japan over the centuries by looking at how much effect China or how much influence China had in Japan at the time, by looking at whether Buddhism was the main thing or Shintoism was. And currently we're under a Shinto culture from the Meiji Jirai, of course, onwards. But anyway, the Kanamari Matsuri is basically it comes in April, and it's a dick festival.
So you'd feel it right at home, right?
Yeah, no
What
problem.
kind of festival? What's got
Right
it?
at home. He runs that bitch. What are you talking about?
Sounds like a party. Yeah.
Is that the one where they have the dicks going down the street? They have like
Yep.
floats and
That's right.
big balloons
Yeah,
and
that's
stuff.
right.
Hmm.
Well, dude, the dick is an important thing, It's invaluable to life. It creates life, indeed.
I love it.
Well, I think I've talked about this before. You go to Pompeii, they have phalluses above the houses. That used to be like the horseshoe, the good luck symbol.
Sure.
You put a phallus. So yeah, I can see that.
There's probably something like Jupiter's phallus or something like that, right?
So many bad
Priapus.
I'm trying to behave.
Yeah, and of course the that's funny. Of course, there's a lot of comments. The thing is, in that festival, it is a a phallus festival. It is about worshiping the penis and what it does for our
As
society.
they should.
And children
is
are
there a
walking
vag
along
festival?
right beside it. No, there isn't. There isn't. Unfortunately, no. Well, because the woman only carries the child; she doesn't make it. Right?
It's a
Men
literal
make it.
sausage fest.
We make
It is a
All right.
literal sausage fest. It is, yeah.
I don't think feminism is ever going to take hold over there.
No, it won't. Yeah, because the women don't agree either, dude. The women don't agree either. They're happy with their reality. Because they are queens. They are in charge of their house. I mean, in Japan, it's very delineated. Women rule the house, men rule outside of it. It's very simple. Women control all the money here. I mean, the women are very pleased and happy with their situation. Why would they want to change it? And Sheldon seems to think there's kids tripping in that village. Maybe.
So, Chester, was that your way of admitting that your wife wears the pants in your house? Is that what just happened?
Do they have blow up penis balloons that kids ride around like hobby horses?
Oh no, it's a little more respectful than that. A touch.
Okay,
But they
I
do
don't
have
know.
giant
I don't know how they
wooden.
roll.
They do have giant wooden erect penises on little motorized trailers going down the road. They do. Yeah. They're even
So they
veiny.
definitely got wood.
They're even veiny. Yeah.
Oh my.
Throbbing. Yeah, they throb.
Namaste
Have like LED
indeed.
lights. Wom, like that. That'd be awesome.
Oh goodness,
All
Jeremy
kinds
says
of wrong.
a dick festival that only comes in April. I come every month, brother.
Ah.
Do better,
What's the
brother.
name of that festival again? What's the name?
What? The
What's the name of
Kanamara?
that
The
festival?
Kanamara Matsuri. Matsuri just means festival. Kanamara.
Oh,
Kanamara.
Kanamana. So Kanamana all
Kanamara.
year long.
Kanamara. Um, in Cat's
Kanamana.
Village, they carry a giant pepperoni. Mhm. What does that mean, model? Good question, Cat. I agree. Happy Penis Day. Well, we are totally off subject here. Let's get back on subject. Death and disease. Now,
Yeah, let's talk about how we're all gonna die because of
I, I
someone wanted to
challenge you,
replicate
Chester.
Resident
uh,
Evil. Yeah.
I challenge you, Chester.
uh-huh.
Go and compose a penis song day for that festival. I challenge you.
I shall not accept your challenge, because I'm allowed by in the recording it says if you choose to accept, and I shall not.
I have a
Oh,
way better song suggestion for you.
Uh-huh.
Do a cover of AC/DC's TNT, except it's TFT. Oi, oi.
Oi. TFT. Yeah, that'd be cool. But anyway, let's get back on subject a little bit. Now, there's still a few things I want to talk about with the coronavirus. Now, in reality, it looks like this will not be a pandemic. Is what it looks like. I mean, I got my fingers crossed and knocking on wood and stuff, but it looks like the Western world has got the thing kind of walled off. And they seem to be finding ways to treat it and deal with it. And I do believe the death rate outside of China is quite low, right? It is
hmm.
probably that 2%. I imagine that's true. And in China, it's a little bit of this thing seems to be a designer virus for them, which is more troublesome. But it also because they just don't have the medical, medicine and practicality in place to deal with it. I think that's part of it as well. But it is quite deadly in China. And therefore, what I want to talk about is the possibility of, or maybe more of the implications of a designer disease. Um, what do you guys think about that? Who wants to
I
start?
was I was going to ask about that while I was gone if you guys talked about that at all, but
Not
apparently
yet,
you were
not yet.
talking about jerking off and everything else other
Penis
than
festivals, yeah.
Corona. Um,
Mm-hmm.
it's not only possible; it's already happening. You have, let's see, who was this? Telegraph.uk warning that the world must prepare for biological weapons that target ethnic groups based on genetics, says Cambridge University. Biological weapons can be built to target individuals in a specific ethnic group based on their DNA, Cambridge University has warned. Researchers from Cambridge Center for the Study of Existential Risk said the government was failing to prepare for human driven catastrophic risks that could lead to mass harm and societal collapse. One of those is what they say is AI and autonomous vehicles. The other is, of course, bioweapons that are designed to target specific ethnicities and races, which is interesting. And the reason why it's so interesting for this is because, as you pointed out earlier, for the most part, white people or people with a lot of white in them, like African Americans, seem to be relatively immune or very, very, very resistant
Yeah.
to
Well,
this.
blacks too. Black Africans too seem to be
Oh,
have
I
a
didn't know
low.
if it made it to
Yeah.
Africa at all.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hooray, our privilege. It's real.
But
Well,
what
And it
that
combats viruses.
that article actually in that report came out in like August, right? So August of last year. So August is what, the 8th month. It came out August 13th, and this started in November, I believe. So that's only 2 or 3 months apart. And suddenly this huge outbreak in China happens that apparently is very virulent to Chinese people specifically.
yeah.
Now I don't know if anybody knows because China is covering up everything they can.
Oh, you'll
If
never
it's
know
a
the truth. Yeah.
specific ethnicity in China, or if it's just Chinese people in general, Asian people in general. It
Well,
doesn't
that
seem to be. The Japanese seem to be able to fight it off no problem.
No, that's not necessarily true. It's just the Japanese were on top of it immediately, therefore they kept it out of the country in general. Because I mean, and that's a fair point you bring up because we have the Caucasoid, Negroids, and Mongoloids, right? The Caucasoids and Negroids with this particular virus, seem to be
Caucasoid.
fairly unaffected. But the Mongoloids are. Now, is it more specific to the Chinese DNA structure only? I That would be absolute evidence of a designer type of virus because that's just radically specific, right?
Yeah. The other thing is isn't China something like 93% Han ethnicity of Chinese? If
Well,
I
I
remember,
mean
is it Han?
that's all kind of
If they if they could, if it's possible to focus it to ethnicity, there's no telling what they could do with this if that's what it is. There was also reports that were, I think, unconfirmed, but again, it's coming from China, so it's hard to confirm anything. That there were strands of HIV or HIV like virus within the coronavirus itself, um, which is very peculiar and
interesting.
strange.
It is interesting because there have been many, many accusations that the HIV itself is a manufactured plague, right?
Yes.
Now that's not proven here or there, but there's been many accusations over the years of that. And the fact that it has telltale signs, and the fact that AIDS drugs actually work against it, are very, very interesting. But as far as the racial breakup here in China specifically, the racial breakup basically is this: you have the old world Decinovan Mongoloids, which are the southern ones, right? You have the more newer world Mongoloids to the north, which includes the northern Chinese, Koreans, Japanese, right? They're all kind of Mongolians. They're kind of all the same people, really. There
Hmm.
are some differences, but they're more of an adaptation over time than they are actual genetic differences. You have those two types in China, and then in the West you have another two groups really. In ancient times, the Caucasoid or Caucasian people from Europe actually traveled east. Matter of fact, textiles and horses were not invented in China; they were brought in from the east from the West, sorry, from the Caucasian people. So you
Hmm.
do have some Caucasian tribes in very West China. There are hardly any left. The Chinese have done a good job of killing them off. And of course, another group that they're working desperately to kill off comes from the Islamic invasions that took place, 1,000 years ago. And so you have a lot of those kind of Muslim cultures and there is some of that genetic aspect in those populations. But like I said, China is currently in a major project to just kill them all. Those people are actually have been walled up in cities too, and they've turned them into slave labor and stuff. But in general, the Chinese government is just trying to kill them, get rid of the Muslims by just simply removing their existence. So this is the basic racial breakup. But you have to keep in mind that in China there are what upwards of 3,000 separate languages and dialects.
Hmm.
So it's difficult to really pin that down, you know.
Yeah.
So having something that specifically affects the old world or new world Asians, uh, that would be absolutely must be designer. There's no way that
Yeah.
could just be natural occurring, right?
Well, especially with how intermingled they all are. I mean, yeah, they're all Chinese, but there's a bunch of different breeds of that. Um,
Yeah.
so they would be really, really hard, and pretty much impossible for a naturally occurring
Yeah.
disease to mutate and only target one specific
It
group
would
there.
be, and of course, the question is this what we are seeing? It's too early to know that, but the fact that the evidence coming out of the West, which is much better than what's coming out of the East, is
Mhm.
stating that it seems to be very racial specific, is extremely worrying. Especially when you put on top of the fact that we know that whole shenanigans is going on with Canada, and understand that row is still ongoing, right? Just because
Yep.
no news people are talking about it doesn't mean it's gone away. Like I said, they just arrested another Canadian just a few days ago, right? So this row between China and Canada is ongoing. Canada is upset because they had Chinese spies in their virology, laboratories stealing stuff. Now the Canadian government doesn't seem to be willing to say what was stolen, but we know that the time frame it happened is within a couple of weeks of this outbreak. Now, keep in mind that the actual virology laboratory, they have many across Japan, across China, sorry, but one of them is very near. It's in Wuhan. It's very near to where the outbreak supposedly started around, and
Yes.
within a couple weeks of it, and it's very Asian specific. It's an odd thing And of course, the reason why the Canadian governments probably don't want to talk about it is because they're probably doing bioweapon research, which they're not supposed to because of UN treaties, right?
Hmm.
Right? And I'm sure every government on the planet is doing is doing some kind of biological research. They always do that crap, right? They never follow the rule. You think Japan doesn't have nuclear weapons? Really? Really? Yeah. I'm
Or
thinking this is probably part of it.
at the very least, they can have one in 10 minutes if they want one.
Oh
Like,
well, there's American nuclear ships sitting right in harbors all over the place, dude. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
exactly.
So I mean, either way you look at it, but no, this is very telling and it's very interesting because there is some kind of connection going on there. Because, like I said, that row is still ongoing, and the fact that they do have these places here, and they do have a symbol of a blue and yellow umbrella, which is creepy.
A little bit.
Yeah.
For some reason, my wife decided to turn the lights off in here.
Mm. You don't deserve lights. You're
Apparently.
you're corona infected, dude. You don't deserve it. You'd be dead in
Uh,
minutes, sir. Um, al- Although it seems that we don't know 100%, but it seems that it takes you about a month, 3 to 4 weeks for you to die from this thing. But anyway, if you guys have any further comments on the potential of this being an actual man-made disease.
well, I'd say there's something going on with it because it's very strange. There was even in 2017, and I can't find the articles now because Western media has done such a great job of flooding with nonsense. Um, there
Yeah.
was even articles claiming that in 2017 it was developed in a Canadian lab and given to China for further testing, which
Ah.
is insane to me. I don't know why anybody be giving something like that to China, but you never
Well,
know with old Trudeau's government.
that's true. And keep in mind that major virology laboratories in Japan, the one that's right there in Wuhan, it has been for years studying coronaviruses in bats. It has been studying that as its main thing. And we have many pictures that coming out of those laboratories with people not wearing masks, not wearing gloves, just sitting there in t-shirts doing actual sample testing of infected bats. So I mean, good on you, China. That's what you need, right? But unbelievable. Uh,
Oh my gosh,
yeah.
they're just ripe. They're just ripe for an actual pandemic in China.
Well, this is a full-on epidemic for sure. Another thing I want to mention, moving away from that, because that's the TFT of the talk, right? I mean, it just China's corruption, their absolute lack of willingness to be honest in any way about this potentially devastating thing. The another thing I want to touch on a little bit is a little bit about Japan because I live here, but I'm not under any delusion that the Japanese are perfect people because they're not. They're just like any other people, right? But there have been a couple moments in my living here in Japan that have made me proud of the Japanese, right? One of those was during the Tohoku disaster, the tsunami that killed 20,000 Japanese, and this is a modern country, right? Um, you had whereas you as you oppose that to Katrina, for instance. Now, during Katrina, that's a force 5 hurricane. That's the frickin' hand of God coming down on you, right? Now, of course, the media only dwelt upon, New Orleans, right? But just to the east of New Orleans in Mississippi is actually where it hit, and there were actual towns in Mississippi that were completely leveled. I mean, to the foundation level, no building left standing, right? And those communities were helping each other. There wasn't any nonsense going on at all. But of course, that's not a bleed. If it bleeds, it leads, right? So they didn't talk about that. There was no need to talk about that. We're going to talk about the debauchery and absolute insanity that was going on in New Orleans. But if you look at that and how disappointing that was that Americans were acting like that, right? If you look over here in Japan, when they had a devastating tsunami come in and kill 20,000 people, what were the Japanese doing? Were they looting? Not one. Not one example, not one. Matter of fact, convenience stores open up, and they were using convenience stores as a place to give out water and basic supplies. What were the Japanese doing? Were they fighting in line like they do with Walmart on Black Friday? No, no, no. They were waiting quietly in line to get. Oh God, coronavirus strikes again.
Here
Um,
we go.
here we go.
Good to know
That's
you, Sully.
Sorry.
two of them.
Oh,
Bye.
apologies. I forgot I was muted.
That's all right. But I'm just saying,
I'm really gonna miss you,
I'm
Slick.
gonna
Jimmy.
miss you, Slick. Slick and Thunder
Oh
Arrow,
no.
both coronavirus.
They were
But my,
both
my point
It's
corona.
was,
not coronavirus. It's just the flu.
okay, just the flu, more deadly,
Just the
That's
according
how
flu.
to
It
the
only
that's
killed
how it
WHO.
millions of people.
starts.
Come
According to
on.
the WHO, the flu is more deadly than the coronavirus. But anyway,
For now, before
but
you
my
turn
point
into a
was,
zombie anyway.
I, I was very proud of the Japanese and how they acted because I mean, that's awesome, dude. That's how you should be, right? And here recently, I've been very proud because the way they've dealt with the coronavirus, especially in juxtaposition to China, is just impressive, dude. We have a cruise ship here in Japan that has almost 4,000 people on it. The coronavirus is on it. There are many confirmed cases. It is at the Tokyo dock, and it actually goes back out to the water and back, kind of like every day. But the Japanese are on that, and they are dealing with it, and they're trying their best to, in a very difficult situation, to try to help those people as much as they can. And although there's certainly frustration because they're locked in their rooms, basically, they're going to be there for 2 weeks. It's a very frustrating situation, and there are a little bit of complaining. The biggest complaint I saw was from some American girl who is Donald Trump, please help us. And I'm sure she's probably a freaking Democrat because, they always cross the aisle when they need it, right? But other than that, what I've been seeing is what we've been seeing is a lot of people putting up signs on paper they've written themselves thanking the Japanese government because hey, I need some more of my diabetes medicine, or I need my heart pill, or whatever like that. The Japanese government is on it, and of course they are. Of course they are. It's what they should be doing. They don't need to be praised for doing what is expected. But when you compare to what frickin' China is doing, it's night and day. And this is why the Chinese, who have been programmed for generations to hate Japan, are praising Japan because the way they're handling this is very professional and humane. There's the word, humanely. The Chinese are inhumane in everything they do. They do not care if you die. They do not care what happens to you as long as the rule is followed and you don't make them look bad, right? The inhumanity of the frickin' Chinese government, when is the West going to wake up to it? Because the only reason they have any power or influence is because the West keeps dumping money into China. Stop it. The Chinese government is monstrous. They are slavers. They are murderers. Why are you giving them money? What are you doing, West? What
Because they
is
Because
give
your
us really
point?
cheap clothes
Because they
no, that's not even
have
and
cheap labor.
shoes.
that's not even it. Because the only reason they don't do that here is because the law doesn't let them. That's why.
Probably true.
They'll do it wherever they can get away with it, and they've done it all throughout history. As soon as they need that cheap slave labor, they find somewhere that's fine with it.
Right. Right. And people are kind of giving Donald Trump, well, excuse me, Democrats are giving Donald Trump a hard time for his repair of NAFTA. But what did Donald Trump do with that? Why did he try to repair that? Because what was going on is unfair practices, right? Because Mexico was basically being used as a slave labor center. And Trump's like, no, no, we're not going to have that. We're not going to do that. Right. And he changed it. And good on him for doing that. But of course, all the news reports is that he hates Mexicans. Really? Because in a way, he's actually helping Mexicans, isn't he?
Yes. Yeah, it does actually. You bring in these industries, production and things of this nature, and it elevates people out of poverty. There's reports that in the last, like, I don't know, 50 years or whatever, we went from something like 50 or 60%. It might even be higher than that in absolute destitution levels of poverty in the world. So there's only about 10% of the whole planet that's like that now.
Oh no, the
Um,
West and those pesky white folk have
yeah.
dragged the world kicking and screaming into a
Yes.
better life. Yeah,
Yes.
how horrible we are. But
And our thanks is to be called monsters.
that's right. That's right. But anyway, I mean, that's kind of what I had to say today. That's what I wanted to talk about. I'm glad we came in and talked about it because you know, and if you're more interested in it, definitely check out on the internet. You can find all kind of crazy videos coming out of China. It's monstrous what the Chinese government is doing. It truly, truly is. I don't use this word lightly in this case. But the good thing for me is this doesn't look like it's going to become a pandemic. It really doesn't, and that's great because a pandemic would be just awful, awful.
You don't need one of those.
No, no, we don't want that.
Not a
Uh,
fan.
Not a fan. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it is funny here in Japan, of course. There's been the cases have been basically Chinese coming in, and we get plenty of Chinese tourism over here. And they've locked it down pretty well here in Japan. But of course, the Japanese people, even this little village I live, which is nowhere near anywhere place we could possibly be infected, everyone is wearing a mask every day, except for me, of course. And it's just funny to me because my wife walking out of here this morning with a mask on and says, "You better protect yourself because I'm a white guy. I'm immune. You're gonna die."
Here's my question to you, Chester. It's completely off topic, but you actually just brought it up. Do you see yourself as Japanese or still just 100% American, even though you've been living there for years?
Oh, I'm 100% American. Yeah, yeah.
Do other
I am
people
a
around
real
you
American.
see you as just the American guy? Like, is that
No,
what you are to them?
no. I'm
No.
I'm so integrated that they don't even count me as a foreigner anymore.
Gotcha.
We have 112 foreigners living in the city over the mountain from me. I'm
Mhm.
technically within their borders because about 17 years ago they had a thing here called GAPE, which Japan does every now and then, which they basically just take smaller areas and cluster them into bigger areas. So I'm falling within the county of Saiki City, and it calls itself a city, but it's not. I mean, it's got what 60,000 people in it. Yeah, it's not a city. But nevertheless, it's a nice little country place. I like it. It's peaceful. There's no crime at all. It's just a really nice place to live. But
All right.
however, there
All
are
right, I'm
one.
coming over. I'm
Uh,
moving in. That's it. I've
there you
had it.
go. Okay. There are
Bring me with you.
100. There are 112 foreigners
I
living
want
in.
Japanese babes.
So Japanese babes are nice, dude. Because you know what? They'll try anything if it makes you
Oh.
happy.
Oh.
Whew.
But anyway, but
Pushing my.
let me
They'll
get.
they'll try anything. What are we talking about?
Yeah, and we're not talking about anything,
I
and
got a
it's
stitch in
certainly
here.
not anything to do with the Kanamata. Nothing at all. But
God.
anyway, let me finish my point. There's 112 people, foreigners, living in Saiki City proper, and of those 112, there are, well, I think currently three. Americans. I think we had a couple Australians. I'm not sure if they're still here or not. There was another American. There's three or four of us. But basically,
Chester's sitting to himself thinking, screw all those other white people.
well, no, no. I'm just trying to say one of them is a lady who's a little bit older than me, and she married a Japanese, which is very rare. Because usually it's the other way around. But she lives here on and off. Her husband is a successful artist, and they kind of jump between here and California. So I wouldn't call her a permanent resident. Another one is like a half Asian Mexican girl, and nice girl, and she's been here for many years, and she seems to like it. So she's here. And there's another asshole guy. I can't stand. He's so
See, I told you. I
he,
told you.
well, he's slimy, dude. He's slimy. He's
I knew
slimy.
it. I
Um,
knew it.
but anyway, so I'm kind of like the only dude. And because I'm on the TV and in the newspaper and in magazines and things so often since I've been here, everyone kind of knows who I am at least. They might not know me personally, but they know who I am because I am on the local TV from time to time, and I've been on the national stuff as well. But
You on the
so
TV. We need to have a TFT on Chester in Japan. That's what we need to have.
really,
Mm,
We
yeah,
need to get to the bottom of this conspiracy.
it's not.
Yep.
I'm a musician, dude. Um,
Yeah, a musician who kills.
Who kills? That's right, or at least tears ears off.
Like,
But
I happen to live right by all the ninjas, It's a
Yes, it's a
coincidence,
coincidence.
guys.
It is coincidence. But the other foreigners are Chinese, Korean, Filipino, things like that. Indonesians, quite a few of those over here. Nepalese, things like that. But in general, there's not much in the way of foreigners. And I've been here so long, and I'm so integrated into the culture that the Japanese just kind of treat me like a local. And this becomes very evident when I do go to meetings where they have trying to pull a lot of foreigners in to talk about, just foreigners living in the area stuff. They pull me in from time to time. The Japanese don't even treat me like one of the guests. They always sit me with them. So
Oh,
I don't know what that
Chester's
means.
accepted. He's an
I'm
accepted boy.
I'm accepted.
So
Yeah.
what kind of foreigner stuff did they talk about?
Oh, stupid stuff. Yeah.
All the
Like
friggin' gaijins doing dumb things.
yeah, and food, and mainly because they do bring me in to talk to new because they have a thing over here called the JET program, which they bring in these assistant language teachers, ALTs, from the West to help the elementary and junior high school and even high school teachers teach English better. The idea of the program is good, but the execution is pretty horrible. And they bring me in when they bring a new batch of those in to have a chat with them. Yeah.
Sorry, I'm giggling because Miss Hannah Kirk just read my mind. I was going to say you're their token Chester. You're their token white guy.
I probably am. No, I probably am their token. Yeah, yeah, that's
Yeah,
fair.
when they're arguing online, they're like, I am not a racist. I have a white friend."
That's right. I am the token. Yeah, I'd accept that. But of course, one of the things I have to talk to them about, particularly the men, because the women this doesn't apply, but because Asian women in general, Asian culture doesn't really have the concept of romance involved in it. And in the West, we do have that, and you have to work very hard to get a girl's attention and to woo her. A Western man gets practice since being a young child to get attention. Because if you're in a household with where you got boys and girls, brothers and sisters, the girls go to get most of the attention, and the boy has to work to get attention. Here in Asia, of course, it's quite the opposite. A male child, is the ultimate thing, even in Japan. Korea is probably the worst about it. People always talk about China killing off their baby boys, but their baby girls, sorry, and they have done that, but that's because of the one child law with the government. But the Koreans are actually worse on that. They do not want baby daughters; they want baby boys, right? And Japan has this to a point as well. So the boys here in Japan, they're held up. They're everything. They're the most important thing. And of course, Western boys don't have this experience, and they have to work very hard to get attention. And they usually do this through humor, and later in learning how to romance a girl, and all these kind of things you just learn in Western culture. And when they come over here in Asia, they're absolutely deadly, because these girls have no defenses against such things. And we call the Asian girls yellow cabs for a reason. Yeah, because they're evil. Yeah. So I do have those kind of conversations and stuff with them, and try to warn them not to be don't be too don't be too amorous. Yeah. Keep it down to a minimum roar, please. Yeah.
Yeah, I experienced that here in Utah when I met a girl named
Hmm.
and
Hi, John.
I was just nice to her, and all of a sudden she's sitting on my lap,
Hmm. Hmm.
basically throwing herself at me. And I'm like,
Oh yeah, I know.
whoa.
Booster, move to Japan. What are you waiting for?
And I'm like, I'm 21 and you're 17. Calm down.
Well, dude, I just to give you an example to match your example, just the other day I was at a private musician event, kind of. Of course, girls always get them for free, right? We had a bunch of musicians in there, just kind of having a jam session. Just kind of, we do it a couple times a year. And I'm sitting down. I just got done doing a short, like a 4 or 5, I think it was 5 song set, just a little thing. And I'm sitting down, and of course, all the ladies are coming over and saying hi, and wanting to chat. And I had this, I don't know, 20 something, maybe 30, girl come over and just sit square on my lap and just starts chatting with me.
You're like, that's maybe.
Say that again.
I was married. Where
Huh?
was your wife, by the way?
Oh, she wasn't
You're
there.
married.
Oh, I'm married. Yes, I am married, but my wife was not
For a
present
second.
at the time. Matter of fact, she dropped me off, and they came up later to pick me up because I was drinking. So yeah, no wife at all.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, no wife at all. Yeah. Mhm.
Oh
Huh.
boy.
Not sure where this story went, but
It didn't go
Good thing
anywhere,
you haven't
dude.
watched this show.
Right. Well, no, I mean she knows me, dude. Nothing at all will come of it. I'm the type of dude that one woman is plenty enough freaking hassle for me. Thank you very much. I don't
Well,
need
you
more
also seem
hassle.
like the type of guy who goes after women who are a hassle. You
Maybe
like women that are fun, that aren't
I
just
do.
don't
Yeah.
just roll over and
Yeah, but
and
it's also I sowed my wild oats, baby, big time when I was younger. I don't done that, been there, done that, right? I don't need to play around with that anymore. It's not necessary. But yeah, my wife, she knows me well, dude. It's no worries, no worries. But I'm just the point is that the Japanese girls are always doing this kind of stuff. It's just how they are, right?
I see. We are way off topic. That's my fault.
Well, no,
But
it could be considered a
back to the
disease.
coronavirus.
back to the deadly epidemic brewing in China.
But no, I said I made my points because I've made the points I want to make about it. So if you guys have anything you want to add, go ahead. If not, we can end the show. But I do think after you've done any last comments you have, we should talk about what we should do next week, though. But go ahead. Let's start with Booster. Booster, you got anything intelligible to say?
Something along the lines of how Corona C virus is an anagram for raccoon virus, and that's very suspect. Also, the fact that this is probably just like a big old psyop from a Budweiser company to affect the sales of the Corona drink. Hail Budweiser!
Hail Budweiser. Very good tie into TFT Booster. That's a gold star for you. I'm putting it up I'm putting it up right now. I'm going to give him
I'm
gold
gonna
star.
Put up on
That
the
was
fridge.
very
Put it on the
intelligible,
fridge.
Booster. Very intelligible.
Very
gonna find you
intelligent.
my
Good
best Japanese
job.
girl for you, Booster.
Yes. Dude, I actually know a Japanese girl that would be perfect for Booster, and she's cute
Really?
too.
Oh,
Oh,
oh.
Booster,
not his
get
daughter.
your
Alright,
shit
yeah.
up to Japan.
You wanna give me Facebook deets and
No,
you gonna hook a
not
boy up?
not Facebook.
No, dude.
Go in person. Just go.
I
you
gotta know if the bitch is good quality before I
jump
spend
on a
thousands on him, right?
jump on a
Because
junk
I
freighter
I have
and get your
been
ass to
I
Japan.
have had some bad experience with these hoes.
Well, Booster, trust in the Chester. Trust. The bear wraps his arms around you and protects you.
Booster, he
Pure
loved
love.
you.
Whispering in my ear, I got you a fine ass Japanese hoe.
I do.
He loves you, Booster, but nowhere near
How you like
enough.
them? How you like these
Nowhere near
nips?
enough.
That's what you got to say.
Yeah.
Nowhere near enough to hook you up with his daughter. Not even close.
Oh, dude, no way. My daughter's way too good for him anyway.
Just but I got you one that's just your quality.
Yeah, just the right quality for you. Well, dude, my daughter is a
she grew up
highly
right outside of
educated.
Fukushima.
My daughter is a highly educated pharmaceutical chemist. Do you think you got that? You think you got that?
I mean, I almost did well in high school, but I dropped out.
I mean, I've ruined better. I've ruined better.
Oh, thank you very much.
Mhm.
I love how the conversation is going to my daughter. But anyway, let's move on.
That was
Slick,
not my
dude,
idea.
give your closing comments, please. And he's not going to talk to me now. He's upset.
The corona's
What did
got
you
him.
want?
Oh,
Closing
bunch of
comments. Sir.
closing words.
Oh, just a moment. Don't stick your dick in crazy.
Mhm.
Especially in China. That's a fair point.
Mhm.
All right, Thundero, go ahead.
Mine are is anybody actually worried about this? I see some people we all know. In fact, I'm not going to name names, who seem to be in a kerfluffle about it. That got themselves all worked up. It's the end of the world. No, it's not.
No,
Calm
it's
down.
not. It's not. Yeah.
This isn't going to go anywhere. There's going to be a lot of dead Chinese people, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And that'll be about the breadth and the width of it, unless it virulently mutates and changes from what it is now to something else.
Well, It is an RNA-based disease, so it could do that. That is a worry. Yeah, yeah.
But other than that, I wouldn't worry too much about it. I would just keep doing what you're doing. If you hear of a case near you, don't freak out about it. Don't go all Asian and start putting masks on. And it's you're being silly. You live in a first. Most of us live in first world countries. I would assume you're probably fine.
Yeah, no, I think so. Particularly if you're white or black, you're good to go.
Yep.
Today's conversation had more to do with the Chinese government than it did the coronavirus itself. It
Mm,
is a pretty deadly thing. I think it seems that if you have proper medical approaches to the situation, that the fatality seems to be fairly low, which is good. In China, this is not the effect. Like I said, my big worry as far as a pandemic is this getting into India. That's my concern, actually,
mm,
because that would be more devastating what we're potentially seeing in China. Now, to keep in mind, these numbers will never be confirmed because
no.
SARS was far more deadly than reported, and this thing jumped past SARS within the first 2 weeks. Now, I understand they said just recently this passed SARS. No, this passed SARS in December, brothers and sisters, right? But
Yep.
even SARS was bigger than they're telling it. But the good thing, it seems, is the number over the past, say, month has only gone up about 50% as far as infected. Right, that's a good thing. That means the Chinese have seemingly contained it at least within that area. Now we have no idea what kind of craziness is going on in that area because, in essence, China's just blocked them in literally with dirt and rock and left them to their own devices. So who knows what'll happen? But it looks like the government has kind of taken. It's basically it's as if they took the American Midwest and walled it off and just left it to its own devices. That's kind of what's happened, right?
That's
So
crazy, man.
it is crazy. So we'll see how that works out. But anyway, there's the coronavirus, guys, and it's certainly TFT worthy because there's a lot of conspiracy going on with it. But nevertheless, before we get out of here and namaste you guys out, we do need to make a decision about what we're going to talk about next week. So, what do you guys think?
Mm. Hmm. What could we
AIDS,
talk about?
No.
AIDS.
Well, that is a
CIA,
conspiracy. Well,
MK
no,
Ultra.
AIDS is also could be a TFT because that was not only is it potentially a man-made virus, potentially, so for a TFT talk, but also all the stuff they're talking about when they came out in the '80s. Remember with Bono and all that kind of crap when they were talking about AIDS is, it's something that could affect us all. No, no. That was a complete lie. It was mainly hitting the homosexual community only. They just didn't like the specs on that, right? So it is a TFT topic, but no, not AIDS. Next.
Not AIDS.
Not AIDS. Um, I'm trying to think. I think we should let the chat pick. We haven't done that in a while.
Boosters love life.
Well,
Oh,
that's not a
There is a problem
conspiracy.
with all other women, not me.
Booster
So I want
is
to know
a
what the
theory.
conspiracy is.
It's only a theory because it's never been proven that it happens. But there's no
Yeah.
conspiracy, bud.
No.
now Eric makes a very good point. If it reaches India, all the call centers around the world will go down. Fair point.
Uh-oh.
Fair, fair. Yeah.
Yeah, how's the comic keeps going? Adam's calendar. He's brought this up a couple times. What is that?
I
Let's
do
see.
not.
Eric says, a bear is a fat gay dude, Chester. Shut up, Eric.
It's
Quit
true.
picking on me.
I wasn't going to tell you since I was
I'm
already picking on you about your
A
dog.
bear, a
I'm
twink, a twunk.
husky.
There's also things like otters and all sorts.
Yeah, well, I'm husky though. I'm not fat. I'm husky. Let's make sure we get that
Mhm.
right. But anyway, what about Cat in the second world country? No, let's not do that. We like
She's
Cat.
okay.
Yeah,
She's okay. She doesn't. She's not going to get the coronas
that's good.
because she's white.
Because she's white, right? Edwin says, and she's female. Edwin says, aloha. Tank
Oh,
Ferret says,
aloha.
good tinfoil. Well, thank you very much. Eric says, hello, Edwin. Oh, everyone's saying hi, Edwin. Well, hello, Edwin. Eric says, do Oak Island or Roanoke? I know Roanoke pretty well. I don't know the Oak. I know what it is, but I don't know Oak Island very well.
We
Adam
could do
Scanler? Yeah.
since we try to keep it broad because there's so many things we could talk about. We could just do mysterious disappearances in general, not just Roanoke. I mean, there's been others in whole civilizations, in fact, that have just went away.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
How about Egyptians in the Grand Canyon?
Oh yeah, well, yeah, yeah, yeah. That would certainly be interesting. I don't know how long we could talk about it, but it would be interesting. Agenda
We can do.
21.
Why doesn't my dad talk to me anymore?
Oh God.
again, not a conspiracy, but sorry.
Shilton
I
says no
think
one
the
has.
government got him.
Let's see. Sheldon says no one has or should see boosters reproducing. They are a myth. No one knows. No one has seen a booster. That's fair. That's fair. That's fair.
What?
Yowza, I'm definitely going to do Adam's calendar. It's perfect for TFT. But the problem is the only person that knows anything about it is probably me.
Yeah, I
Um,
don't know anything
and
that
that's
particular with.
yeah. And it's a very one-sided conversation. We do want to have stuff that's everyone can have it. Like today, even Booster had comments today, and that's what we want.
Yeah, I said things.
He did.
Imagine that.
Back
Yeah.
black helicopters, Georgia Guidestones.
Guidestones are interesting, but I don't know if we could get a whole show out of just them. We'd have to go broader with globalism and NWO and all of the spirit
Oh,
Illuminati and all the
The
conspiracies that's
Illuminati.
well, there you go, Yowza. Then you should come on and join me when I do that. And of course, that offer is up for everybody when we do a TFT or any show. If you guys want to be on and talk about it, just hit me up on my Twitter and we'll do so. And so great, Yowza. You should come on and talk about Adam's calendar with me when we do it. Next week, however, we're not going to do Adam's calendar, but that will be fun. I'll prepare a really good presentation for that as well because it's fascinating, especially when you get into the science of the Sonic of the Stones, and anyway, it's really really cool. Awesome, thank you, Yowza. But let's see next week. So disappearances. Hmm. Hmm.
Mm.
So yeah,
yeah, strange disappearances. I like it.
strange
Like my dad.
disappearances.
Yeah.
Mass disappearances. Let's do that. Mass disappearances where large groups of people just gone. They just clock out and nobody knows what happened. There's no
Maybe
explanation. No good explanation.
Mm.
maybe I'll title it "Vanished."
Ooh.
Oh. Ooh.
There we
Ooh,
go.
that's a Netflix series.
That is a Netflix series right there, baby. All right, so next week we're doing Vanish, mass disappearances, and even smaller ones. There's actually some pretty interesting disappearances around certain Midwest mountain ranges, and particularly
Yes.
the one where the shoes and clothing have been found folded on the ground, and just the bodies never found. It's almost like as if it were the Japanese suicide forest type of thing. But yeah, no, we'll do Vanish next week. So that sounds good. All right. So who's going to namaste us out of here today?
Facts not.
What?
I don't know what
Oh,
that.
do other countries not have that? You like say bags not, then you put your thumb on your forehead, and that means no, I don't want to do that. The last person to say bags not has to do it.
What is wrong with
Fags not. Uh,
Bags not.
fags not. So you're basically
No,
saying
no, no.
I'm not a
If
homosexual.
not
My
the
thumb
one
is on my head. I
word
look
that we
gay
shouldn't be saying
because I
on
have a thumb on
stream.
my
Oh
head.
my
I look like an
goodness.
idiot, but definitely no gays. All
Bags.
right.
Bags.
All right.
Oh my. What did they say? Oh, well, Sheldon Martin is saying nose goes or not it. So yeah, it's like not it. Bags not.
Why wouldn't you just say not it?
Why is
Because we're
Booster?
retarded. Give me a
Because he's a
break.
freaking douchey Kiwi.
He can't
Oh
even
my.
say,
Oh
dude.
my god.
He can't even say mega.
Uh, uh,
Mega.
Booster, who
Who's my megas up in here?
well, to avoid it, I've been saying my Lakers lately. So,
My Lakers. That's how you solved it.
yeah, that's how
Ah, this is not right. Just not right. As someone decides to, if they're going to namaste us, I don't know. I do think that comment needs to be left out with this picture. So, yeah, rock on.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, because she don't need none of your snap. She don't need it.
Mm-hmm.
She don't need it.
I'll do it if you need somebody to do it. I
All
don't care.
right, cool.
But Booster, say mega. Say the word mega.
No, don't do it.
Oh god. All right. All
Don't
right.
do it.
Mega.
He can say it. See, I knew he was being racist, bastard. I knew it.
It was my plan all along. Just see how many N words I could get away with before you just
You
caught on.
bastard.
It was my plan all along, and you fall for it, you fools.
Oh,
Oh,
no.
Lord.
All right, guys. Well, thank you very much. It was a fun TFT today. I enjoyed it. We had a lot of people up in here watching it too, which is cool. We appreciate you guys. You know that. And of course, keep in mind that tomorrow we have the California show, Comics News Today, and we will be covering the headlines. I kind of like the format. What do you guys think about the new format? We start out with TFT. We get our conspiracy bloods boiling. We come in on Monday. We talk about the news from the week before. Then we have our Bugbear's Basement. Then we have our Fan Speak guest show, and then we have our draw along. I like it, dude. I like the format. What do you guys think?
Yes.
It's
Very
good.
nice.
It's good. I'm
It's
thinking.
much
I'm thinking. I'll take the Saturday slot. I might do Booster's very own show.
You should, dude.
It's serviceable.
God, screw you, Slick.
Oh,
All right.
I'm
Anyway,
glad I'm in here. I
rock
feel
on.
like
See you guys
death.
tomorrow, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And Thundero, Lord of Lightning, from the mountaintop. Namaste, these bastards.
One of my favorite movies was my favorite movie until I was in my mid-20s, is the movie Gladiator. There's a scene in that movie where Maximus is talking to, I believe, Commodus, and he says something to the effect of, "Death smiles on us all. All a man can do is smile back. You choose whether you're happy or not, even in the worst case scenario. So choose to be happy."
That's fair.
Ooh,
Namaste.
namaste.
Yeah. Awesome.
Namaste, babies.
All right, guys. Well, thank you very much.
TFT. Oi.
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 Oi. TFT.
Oi.
Later, everybody.
Oi.